What links the attempted assassination of a pope, the most famous prophecy of the 20th century, and a small plaster statue that begins to weep blood in the garden of an ordinary family? There is a red thread, a thread of blood and tears, that unites Fatima, Rome, and a small seaside town in Italy, Civitavecchia. It is a thread that leads straight to the heart of one of the most important pontificates in history, that of John Paul II. Today, we will not simply tell you the story of a statue that weeps. We will unveil a secret jealously guarded within the Vatican walls, the unwavering and deeply personal faith of a saintly pope, in a sign that the official church has still not dared to recognize. A sign that, for Karol Wojtyła, was the final, terrifying warning of the Virgin Mary to the world. It was February 2nd, 1995, an ordinary day in the quiet outskirts of Civitavecchia, a small port town near Rome. In the garden of the Gregori family, a small plaster statue of the Virgin Mary, brought from Medjugorje, began to weep blood. The first to notice it was Jessica, a 6-year-old girl, who ran to her father Fabio shouting, "Daddy, Daddy, the little Madonna is crying!" Fabio, a skeptical electrician, couldn't believe his eyes. How could a plaster statue weep blood? And yet, the phenomenon repeated itself. 14 times between February 2nd and February 6th, the statue shed red tears in front of astonished witnesses, including priests, faithful, and even the local bishop, Girolamo Grillo. On March 15th, 1995, something even more extraordinary happened. While under Bishop Grillo's custody, the statue wept blood directly into his hands. Scientific analyses confirmed. It was human blood, inexplicable to science. No tricks, no tampering. The Diocesan Commission, partially led by Capuchin theologian Father Flavio Ubodi, admitted the phenomenon was unexplainable. But that wasn't all. From July 2nd, 1995 to May 16th, 1996, the Gregori family, especially Fabio and young Jessica, reported over 90 apparitions of the Virgin Mary, accompanied by prophetic messages for the Church and the world. These events shook Italy. The media swarmed the town, pilgrims flooded Civitavecchia, and the statue was moved to the Church of St. Augustine, where it is still venerated today. But the true mystery isn't just what happened. It's the deep connection between these events and one pope, John Paul II, who saw in Civitavecchia not just a divine sign, but an urgent call for humanity. St. John Paul II, the pope who consecrated the world to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, had a special bond with the Virgin. His Marian devotion was well known, but few know that this pope, survivor of the May 13, 1981 assassination attempt, the anniversary of the first Fatima apparition, saw in the Civitavecchia statue an extraordinary sign. According to reliable testimonies, John Paul II believed in the supernatural origin of the phenomenon from the very beginning. But why did this Marian pope take such a personal interest in Civitavecchia? Sources close to the Gregori family and documents collected by Father Flavio Ubodi reveal that John Paul II not only followed the events closely, he made concrete gestures of devotion. In 1995, the statue was secretly brought to the Vatican. There, the Pope prayed before it and crowned it in private. Another remarkable episode occurred during the Jubilee year 2000. The Pope made a formal act of entrustment to the Madonna of Civitavecchia, a solemn gesture that, according to Bishop Grillo, was in direct response to a request from the Virgin Mary conveyed through Jessica. And there's more. In 2005, during his final hospitalization at Gemelli Hospital, John Paul II received a letter from Jessica Gregori, now a teenager. In that letter, Jessica spoke of a secret message given to her by the Virgin, connected to the third secret of Fatima, and meant for the Pope. The Pope's reply, delivered through the Vatican Secretariat of State, confirmed his special bond with Civitavecchia. Moreover, Father Luciano Pescatore, the custodian of the relics of John Paul II, gave the Gregori family a cloth soaked with the blood from the 1981 assassination attempt, a gesture highlighting the Pope's reverence for the Madonna of Civitavecchia. Why did John Paul II believe so deeply in this sign? Because for him, Civitavecchia was not an isolated event. It was the continuation of Fatima's message, an urgent call to conversion in a time of global and ecclesial crisis. His faith in this sign was rooted in the belief that the Virgin was speaking directly to humanity, just as she had done in Fatima in 1917. To understand the link between Civitavecchia and Fatima, we must go back to 1917, when the Virgin Mary appeared to 3 Portuguese shepherd children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, and revealed 3 secrets. These messages spoke of visions of hell, the need to consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and a mysterious bishop dressed in white who suffers, interpreted by many as a reference to the attack on John Paul II. The Pope himself, after surviving the shooting by Ali Agca, credited the Virgin of Fatima with saving his life, offering the bullet that struck him to be placed in the crown of her statue. In Civitavecchia, the Virgin delivered messages that echo Fatima. In one apparition, on September 19, 1995, the Virgin said, "Prepare yourselves to live what I had revealed to my little daughters in Fatima." The messages of Civitavecchia speak of apostasy in the Church, Satan's attack on the family, and an impending danger for Italy and the world, including the threat of nuclear war. These themes, apostasy, persecution of the Church, call to conversion, are the same as Fatima's, but now expressed in a way closer to our time. According to Father Flavio Ubodi, the Virgin of Civitavecchia presents herself as the Queen of Families and Madonna of the Roses, emphasizing the need to protect the family, the cornerstone of society, and to consecrate oneself to her Immaculate Heart. John Paul II saw in these messages a continuation of Fatima's prophetic mission, a final warning to humanity, an invitation to return to God before the Virgin's mantle of grace would close, making way for divine justice. One significant detail: the Civitavecchia statue, like the one in Fatima, is associated with miraculous phenomena. In addition to the bloody tears, reports speak of oozing perfumed oil, often occurring on liturgical feast days. These signs, according to the Grigori family, are a call to the living presence of Christ and Mary. John Paul II, who consecrated the world to the Immaculate Heart in 1982 and 1984, saw in Civitavecchia the fulfillment of Fatima's promises, the triumph of the Immaculate Heart, but only after great tribulations. Despite the impact of Civitavecchia and the devotion of John Paul II, the Church has never officially recognized the supernatural nature of the apparitions, though it has not condemned them either. Why? The answer lies in the Church's prudence when facing Marian phenomena. According to Catholic doctrine, apparitions are considered private revelations that do not add anything to public revelation but may serve as a call to faith. However, their authenticity requires rigorous discernment. In Civitavecchia, the Diocesan Commission led by Bishop Girolamo Grillo and Father Flavio Ubodi concluded that the weeping of the statue was scientifically unexplainable. Bishop Grillo himself, initially skeptical, became a firm believer in the phenomenon. Nonetheless, there was resistance within the Vatican. Some prelates feared that an official recognition could fuel speculation or cause division, especially in the post-Second Vatican Council theological climate. Moreover, the messages from Civitavecchia contained severe warnings about apostasy and scandals within the Church, themes that were considered uncomfortable and potentially controversial. Father Ubodi has stated that someone in the Vatican blocked the official recognition, despite the support of John Paul II. Still, the Church has granted indirect recognition through solemn acts. In 1995, the statue was enthroned in the parish of St. Augustine. In 1996, Bishop Grillo consecrated the diocese to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And in 2014, Bishop Luigi Marucci crowned the statue in a public celebration. These acts, according to Church tradition, imply a tacit acceptance of the phenomenon. John Paul II, fully aware of the resistance, did not hold back. His devotion to the Madonna of Civitavecchia was both a personal act of faith and a sign of his belief that this was a message for the universal Church, a warning not to ignore the Virgin's calls. What was the message the Madonna of Civitavecchia wanted to give to the world? The 95 messages transmitted to the Grigori family, compiled by Father Ubodi, are both a cry of love and a cry of warning. The Virgin presents herself as the Madonna of the Roses and the Queen of Families, imploring humanity to convert, to pray the Rosary, and to consecrate themselves to her Immaculate Heart. The main themes are: the Virgin warns that Satan is attacking the family, trying to destroy it as the fundamental unit of society. Satan wants to destroy families, she said in a message on July 16, 1995, urging people to defend marriage and life. In a message from September 8, 1995, the Virgin speaks of a great apostasy and of darkness overshadowing the Church. She calls bishops to unite with the Pope and defend the true faith. The Madonna warns of grave danger for Italy and of the possibility of a nuclear war, but emphasizes that prayer and conversion can stop these events. As in Fatima, the Virgin assures, "My immaculate heart will triumph, but only after tribulations." She invites the faithful to trust in the sacraments, especially the Eucharist and confession, and to live with love and humility. According to Father Ubodi, these messages are an echo of Fatima, but with a renewed urgency, as if the Virgin wanted to prepare humanity for a crucial moment in history. John Paul II saw them as a call to redouble efforts for conversion in a world increasingly drifting away from God. For John Paul II, Civitavecchia was not just a local event. It was part of a divine plan that connected the Marian apparitions of the 20th century. His personal experience, the 1981 assassination attempt, the consecration of Russia, his battle against communism, made him particularly attuned to the Virgin's messages. At Fatima, the Virgin had asked for the conversion of Russia and for prayer to prevent wars and persecution. At Civitavecchia, the message expands. Not only Russia, but the entire world is now threatened by the darkness of Satan, and even the Church itself is in danger. The Pope saw in Civitavecchia a call to complete the mission of Fatima. The Virgin, in his view, was speaking directly to the modern Church, warning it about the crisis of faith and the urgent need for spiritual renewal. His secret devotion to the little statue, the prayers, the crowning, the act of entrustment, was his way of responding to this call, even in the face of internal opposition within the Church. Furthermore, the secret message entrusted to Jessica, according to some sources related to the third secret of Fatima, strengthened this conviction. Though the exact content of this message has never been revealed, it is said to concern the suffering of the Church and the need for a stronger unity around the Pope. John Paul II, who had lived the experience of the bishop dressed in white foretold in Fatima, saw in Civitavecchia a prophetic warning for the future. Today, 30 years after the events of Civitavecchia, we can no longer ignore that the Virgin's warnings are being fulfilled before our very eyes. The family, the fundamental cell of society, is under attack. Marriage is being devalued, birth rates are collapsing, and internal divisions threaten the unity of the Church. But it is the warning about nuclear war that, now more than ever, chills us to the bone. Global tensions, escalating conflicts, and threats of devastating weapons all seem to confirm the words of the Virgin, who in Civitavecchia extended her message from Russia to the entire world. John Paul II, with his unwavering faith, saw in Civitavecchia not merely a sign, but a key to understanding something much greater, something perhaps we do not fully grasp. The Third Secret of Fatima, published in 2000, describes the suffering of the Church and the martyrdom of the bishop dressed in white. Yet many believe that part of that secret remains unrevealed, a mystery that John Paul II carried in his heart. The letter from Jessica Gregori, the hidden messages, the act of entrustment, all suggest that the Pope knew something we can only glimpse. What was so profound in the words of the Madonna of Civitavecchia? Was it a final warning, a cry to save humanity from a destiny of self-destruction? What are we heading toward? The Virgin asked for prayer, conversion, and the daily rosary. She promised that her immaculate heart will triumph, but only if we respond to her call. John Paul II, through his example, showed us the way, to believe in the signs of Mary, even when the world doubts, and to entrust ourselves to her with all our heart. Today, as the world trembles under the weight of its own choices, the Madonna of Civitavecchia still watches over us, with her tears of blood asking, "Are you ready to respond?" Let us not allow her warning to go unheard. Take up the rosary. Consecrate yourself to the Immaculate Heart. Join Mary in her mission, because, as she said in Civitavecchia, after the sorrowful years of Satan's darkness, now the years of the triumph of my Immaculate Heart are imminent. But time is short, and the choice is ours. If this story moved and inspired you, leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other life-changing stories of faith. Write in the comments, what do you think about the message of the Madonna of Civitavecchia? And now, more than ever, pray the rosary for peace in the world and in the Church.